Hello everyone, it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today for a new video showcasing the brand new card kit from Simon Says Stamp. I'm going to be using this kit today to create a almost one layer card using one of the new stamp sets and a no-line colored pencil coloring technique. Now, I will preface this video with letting you know that I am going to do quite a bit of shading in this video, and I'll show you how I did it. But I want you to remember that even if you don't want to go through all the trouble of coloring like I did, you can still make this card and still make it a really beautiful card to give to somebody for a variety of occasions, because I'm also going to be using some of the new sticker sheets that are in the kit, and there's a lot of great sentiments in those stickers. Those are great for a variety of occasions, including birthday, thank you, and more. So why don't we jump on in? I have here two stamp sets. There's two stamp sets in this kit. Both are sunflower themed and really, really pretty. I'm going to be using the Sunflower Garden set, which is the one on the right, and I actually happen to illustrate this set for the kit. I'm going to go ahead and take that stamp and line it up inside of my Misty tool, which is going to be on the left-hand side of my card. This is a side-folding A2 card made from Nina Desert Storm cardstock. And I really like this cardstock for colored pencil coloring. It really makes the colors of the pencils really pop off of that darker color, and that's why I chose that for today's project. I stamped the sunflowers with some stone ink from Simon Says Stamp. It's a nice gray color, and it kind of creates a tone-on-tone effect when you stamp it on the Nina Desert Storm. If you don't have this particular ink color, I would encourage you to kind of experiment before stamping and try to find something that you have in your stash that's kind of close to the color of cardstock that you're going to stamp on, because the idea is that we want our stamped lines to disappear as we color. So what you're seeing me do right now is start to color in the image. I'm starting with one of the sunflowers first, and I've chosen 3 shades of yellow plus a brown. What I'm doing here as I'm coloring is I'm working with a very light hand for one. When you're coloring with colored pencils, especially something like these Prismacolor colored pencils, which are more of a waxier pencil, you don't want to press too hard because you're going to transfer a lot more of that wax onto the paper, which will consequently make coloring and shading between multiple colors and adding additional layers of shading a little bit harder, because that wax creates a buildup that makes it a little bit harder to add more on top of it. So when you're coloring with something like a Prismacolor colored pencil, be sure to use a light hand. That will really help you out. So I colored the sunflower using those shades, and as you can see, I've colored the entire thing, and I started with the lightest color, adding in some of the medium shades, and then going in with the darker color to add some more depth. And that's what's really going to make your coloring pop, is when you add that really dark color in some of the nooks and crannies. That's really going to give your image a lot of depth, because it's going to create those shadows, which will help make your image pop even more. But like I said, if you don't want to go through all the trouble of coloring this detailed, which does take quite a bit of time, you could make this a lot simpler by just using maybe one shade for each image, and your coloring is still going to look really pretty. This image is a really fun and easy image to color because it's quite large. So it's not a tiny image that you're trying to color in. It's got enough space that's going to give you some really good wiggle room for adding additional details that you want to add to your coloring or any shading. Colored pencils, of course, are really great because if you keep them sharp, they're going to give you a really nice accurate coloring, more so than something like a Copic marker, which has a broader nib. Another thing to remember with colored pencils, especially Prismacolor colored pencils or other wax-based pencils, the lighter colors, believe it or not, are more of a blender. They work really well as the final layer to blend all of your additional shades together. For some reason, they work really well that way. I don't know why. I don't know what the technical or scientific reasoning is for that, but it really works really nicely for creating that nice blend between your mid-tone and darker colors. So I always like making sure to go over my coloring with one last final round of the lightest color to help blend everything together really nicely. Another thing I love with colored pencils is the fact that you can layer so easily with them. If you use that light hand, like I told you earlier, you're going to be able to add other colors on top. of another color. So here I'm adding some orange to create a little bit of a fall effect where the leaves are starting to turn. They're still green, but starting to have that fall effect where things are starting to turn the beautiful colors that fall gives us. And that's what's one of the cool things about colored pencils is you can come in with those additional random colors and add those on top of your coloring to create cool effects like that. You could do the same thing if you were coloring with maybe some Copic markers or something and you wanted to add some additional color on top. You could try adding some colored pencils over top of your Copic coloring and see how that works too. A lot of times you can get some good success with adding additional shades of other colors using a pencil on top of marker coloring. So now I've colored in all the leaves. I'm working on finishing up the sunflowers. For some of these sunflowers, I did bring some oranges and reds in too, just for some variety in the colors. So that way not all of the sunflowers were exactly the same shade of yellow. And I really liked that look. Of course, I'm constantly bringing in that brown for that nice dark shadow that'll create that really great dimension that my petals need to create a lifelike appearance. Now, the fun part is creating the centers. And honestly, this was the easiest part of all the coloring. All you have to do is add some squiggles. So in the centers of all the sunflowers, I'm doing these like curly Q squiggles in the center. And I'm using a variety of yellows and reds and a little bit of brown to do those little curly Qs. And just going around and around in a circle until I get the look that I'm going for. And so once I have all the coloring done, then I'm going to bring in some pens. One of which is a Signo white gel pen. I love this gel pen because it's a really bright and vibrant pen and it shows up well over top of anything. Markers, watercolors, colored pencils. It shows up great on cardstock and stamping. It's just a really good pen. It's got a great nib to it. You can get really fine detail with it if you're very light, or you can get some really good intense dots by using just a little bit more pressure and making some larger size dots. So I highly recommend that pen if you don't have it. For a darker seed on my sunflower centers, I'm going to use a Sharpie. This is a fine tip Sharpie, and I'm just dotting this in between the white dots that I've added with the Signo white gel pen, and that just adds a little bit more texture and detail to those centers. So here you can see how the coloring's turned out. It's really pretty, it's nice and dimensional, and that craft paper, the Neenah Desert Storm, looks so good against those flowers and the coloring. So now I'm going to bring in some of the design tape that's part of the kit. This is from Tim Holtz. And I'm going to attach this onto my coloring with the Simon Says Stamp Craft Glue Stick. This is a brand new product from Simon. It's included in this kit. And I really like this glue stick because it's great for small things like this and for flat objects that I want to adhere onto a project and have a little bit of wiggle room in the placement. So something like this tape that's a little bit more thin and a little bit more wiggly on my project, I can really make sure I get it nice and straight and push it around a bit before committing to the final placement. Because that glue is really nice and liquid, it's going to smooth out onto the cardstock really nicely. And the reason I chose to use glue to attach that tape onto my project is because of the wax from the pencils. I wasn't sure if the tape would fully adhere onto my project if I didn't have a little bit of extra glue on it. So that was just a precaution by me. All right, in the kit are those stickers that I was mentioning earlier. These are sentiment stickers from Tim Holtz and Ideology. I'm going to go ahead and put these onto some black cardstock. And that's because I want to trim this down and actually pop it up off of my card. And that's why technically my card isn't a one-layer card, because I do have this sentiment popped up on top of it. After I've gone ahead and trimmed this down inside of my tonic trimmer, I'll also use my scissors to get a really nice close cut on the ends of the sentiment. And then that will allow me to add a little bit of foam tape onto the back side. And then I can place this on top of my card in the right-hand corner, which will balance out nicely with the 3 sunflowers we have in the center of our card. All right, so now the last embellishment for this card is to add some liquid pearls. These are beautiful. This is one of the embellishments that you get in this kit. It's a nice, beautiful bottle of liquid pearls, and this one happens to be a bronzish color. I'm going to go ahead and add little dots of these onto different areas of my card. Some of them I'm overlapping in the background or on top of the sunflowers themselves, just for a little bit of dimension and some interest on this card. This is almost done, but I did decide I wanted to add a sentiment to the inside and also make sure to embellish the panel that I'm going to write a message to my recipient to on that as well. So I cut a piece of white cardstock here that's included in the kit. I cut it down to be slightly smaller than my card. I'm going to ink up that sunflower stamp again and stamp it along the right-hand side of this panel. And then that's going to give me a space on the left that I can stamp a sentiment. So I'm going to line this up into my mini MISTI here, take this sentiment, which is from that Sunflower Garden stamp set, and I'm going to tuck it up against the sunflowers that are along the right-hand side of my card. I use Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink to stamp this sentiment in place. It's a nice, dark, rich color, and it's going to pair up really nicely with the sentiment that I have on the front of the card, which of course is also black as well. I'm going to use that glue stick to attach this panel to the inside of my card. Because I'm going to adhere this flat, I thought the liquid glue would be great because then it gives me a chance to wiggle it around and make sure it's fully adhered in the center of my card. I was trying to be careful because I had decided to do this while the liquid pearls were still wet, so I was trying really hard not to make sure I hit those liquid pearls as they were drying so that they dried perfectly, which they did. So this is my finished card using the brand new September 2021 card kit from Simon Says Stamp. This kit is really, really cool. It's got a great fall theme to it with so many sunflower themed products in it. Between the two stamp sets, there's patterned paper in the kit, which I didn't even get a chance to use on this card. There's some awesome embellishments, including the washi tape. You get a full set of Tim Holtz design washi tape in there. And the liquid pearls, the sentiment stickers, envelopes, cardstock, so much, including the glue too. I hope you will check this kit out because it's a really good one. If you haven't already subscribed to the Simon kits, you should check that out also because you do get a discount if you subscribe. The kits are not obligatory. You don't have to subscribe to every single monthly kit. You can opt out at any time, and it's a great way to save a little money too because you get that discount. I have all the links to the products that I'm using today as well as to the kit subscription. That's all down in the video description below if you're watching this on YouTube or in the bottom of my post over at my blog. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you were inspired and enjoyed this project using the new kit and using a no-line colored pencil coloring technique. I will be back very soon with more to share with you all, but until next time, I hope everyone has a very wonderful day. Bye!